Hi, Yins. How are you doing today? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. It's Wednesday. Yay! It's FlossTube Update Wednesday, and I am here for another actually very productive week of update information. So I hope you're all doing well. I am doing excellent. It is a nice, sunny, warm, but not too hot day here. We had a huge batch of storms that came through yesterday during rush hour that knocked me on my butt with a migraine. But that's okay because I haven't had one in a very long time. I wouldn't even say it was really a migraine. It was a headache. I had pretty bad headaches. I couldn't even really figure out what it was until this morning whenever I went into work, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of think that was a migraine because it's been so long since I've had one. But the weather really messed with my body yesterday. And if you've heard, the Northeast had a lot of flooding and crazy weather. So, anywho, we didn't really have that kind of significant weather here, but we did have some strong storms and some very, very low hanging clouds that looked like I could reach up and touch them. But anyways, I am going to get off with that. And so I didn't have too much going on this week other than stitching and work. The other day, over the weekend, I did go to some antiques. Was it this? No, it wasn't this weekend. It was the other weekend, and I forgot to talk about it last week. I was up north of here, and there's in a town where they have a lot of antique stores, and it's Lambertville, New Jersey. And so we were just walking through, my friends and I were just walking through one of the antique stores, and there were a whole bunch of pictures of needlepoint, and I'm going to insert them here. And so, great looking needlepoint. I think they're actually cross stitch for the most part. And so then I looked at the price, and I was like, wow, for three that were not even in that great of condition anymore, you could save the stitches. And I thought of you, Michelle Bendy and McKenna. You could save those stitches for $890. So maybe one day, just think about how all of our stitching could one day be in an antique store on sale for thousands of dollars. I don't know. So just thought that was kind of cool along my little travels there. I'm not an antiquer. I really don't like. I'd rather buy new. I don't. That's just a personal preference. I don't find joy in antiques. That's just not my aesthetic. So unless it has some kind of personal story behind it, I don't find any interest in antiques. But I know many people do, and so I thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, so now let's get on to my stitching. So one evening this week when I wasn't really in the stitching mood, actually I was stitching, and then after I got tired from sitting and stitching for hours on end. I think this was Sunday evening. I'm gonna say it was Sunday. And I see my light keeps changing, but that's because the sun is coming out and going behind clouds off and on. So I think that's the result of that. I finally, if you remember correctly, back, if you remember, about a month ago during Birthday Palooza, I had this gumption of organizing my DMC because it needed to be organized. And so I finally took the time to organize all of my DMC into my container properly. So this is all of my DMC other than my DMC for Henry VIII. So this is all of my DMC, including the DMC for my chatelaine, because I did have my chatelaine DMC separate, which was from my master set, and I decided to go ahead and put it back into my master set since I haven't been working on my chatelaine. And as I'm working on the chatelaine, I'm just going to pull from the master set because why not? It's just easier than having all those different holes available, and then it's just too hard to worry about ensuring that the DMC within the container moving around and everything. So I was able to fit it all in, and if you look, even I still have room for it. Now keep in mind, I don't have any of the new DMC colors, and I think I'm missing maybe 2 or 3 of the original 477. Is that how many colors there are? So I still have room that I could fit them in here, and then I will have to adjust that area there. But for right now, I can fit some more. I have room for some storage there. So that's kind of cool, because right now this is an entire area that you can put needles and everything, and I have my Planet Earth silks in there. So pretty cool, and I have that organized, and I feel so much better about that, because organization is important. You know who that's for. For me, it's very important. I need to be organized. It's funny, I was at work, and my new staff at work in my office area, they keep coming over to my desk and moving everything, and then I have to keep moving it back, and I'm like, "Urgh!" And then I'm like, "You're moving my stuff," and then they're like, "Oh, sorry," and I'm like, "You're gonna realize real quick that I can't handle stuff being out of place." So, and I don't do it out of meanly. I'm playful about it, but it's funny how different people are about meticulousness of things. I'm very meticulous when it comes to my desk, and everything has a place, and everything needs to stay in that place, and don't move my stuff. Okay, let's get to my stitching. I had a pretty big finish this week. Not a finish, a pretty big minor finish, mini finish. So I'm going to insert a picture here. Of where Henry was when we spoke last week. And I'm doing that because here he is now. As you can see, I have finished this entire row. So row number 3 is complete, and I can now move on to finishing row 4. And as you can see, I already moved him on my frame. So I moved him on my frame. So, and while I moved him on my frame, if you haven't checked him out on my Instagram, go do that. But I'm also going to go ahead and insert another picture here. Of Henry when he is in all of his glory up to this point. So there is Henry. Very, very happy with how Henry is going so far. So very, very pleased. So this is Henry on 28 count 1/1 white Lugana. So 28 count white Lugana, 1/1 full cross. This is up to page. I now have 20 pages complete. I have 10 pages of the pattern to go. I'm really only counting it as 8 pages because 2 of those 10 pages are just a column of 12 stitches. So in all actuality, it really ends up being 8 pages, but according to the pattern pages, I have 10 left. So I have 2/3 of the pattern completely done. And if you're going by rows of pattern, I have 3/5 were done and 2 pages. So, Henry VIII. Very pleased with him. So, after Henry VIII, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I know I had said, do I want to continue on with Henry VIII? Do I want to go and do something different for a little bit? I really was not sure what I wanted to do until the day that it was time to decide. And at that point, I decided I needed a bit of a change. So I pulled out my Evertote, my very first ever Evertote. There's the tag. Not that you can see it. Evertote. There it is, Evertote. This was my very first Evertote bag that made me, not made me, but got me to begin my conversation with Caroline that made us friends. And in Evertote, I have my By the Bay. By the Bay needle art. This was my birthday start back during Birthday Palooza. And so this is where it is now. Very, very pleased with how this is coming along. As you can see, everything is done except for I have not filled in the bricks of the little farmhouse here. So the sheep are done. Sheep are done. The water is done. This is up to the center of the page because here is where the big tree comes in. So everything up to the tree trunk. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do everything on this side of the tree trunk, and then I'm going to do the tree, and then I'll do everything on the other side of the tree trunk. Again, very, very pleased with how that's turning out. Love the colors. Love the fact that, oh, this is on 46 count Rocky Mountain by XJU Designs. You can find her on Etsy. So again, very, very pleased with how that's turning out. It's going to be so cool and just nice and small. And what's nice about this is it's pretty much solid stitching the whole way through, minus these little small pieces. But it's solid rows of stitching. So it's been a nice change of pace from compared to how Henry was. So yeah, By the Bay. So I worked on that for 3 days, I think. Maybe 2 days, 2 or 3 days. Not too many days. And then once I got the water done, I was like, I think I want to change again. So I pulled out my mushroom sampler, and I'm going to put what it will look like when it's done here. Lots of inserts of pictures today. So Uh, Again, my mushroom sampler. If you remember correctly, I have the first two mushroom motifs done across the top, and I began working on the third motif. And there it is. The button caps, the mushroom caps took me a day. The dark browns took me a day to fill in. And everything else I did so far the second day. So I've worked on this 2 days so far. So last night I did the stems and the greenery. And the day before I did the large cap and the small cap. So for me, these motifs go super, super fast. And I love the way that this is turning out. Again, this is on 28 count linen that came in the kit. This is the kit that I purchased from the store in France. I was having a conversation with Elena B on Instagram the other night, and when I sent her a picture of what I was working on, because we are both hosting the Excess Mushroom Sow on Instagram. If you're stitching a mushroom, feel free to tag that as your hashtag so we can all follow your love of mushroom stitches. And and her and I are both doing the same sampler because she's the one that enabled me to go ahead and get this sampler. And I was saying about how this is such a nice, easy, quick stitch for me to do. And she was saying about how, I can't believe you think that's easy. It's not easy for me, or it's not a quick stitch. Not that it's not easy, it's not a quick stitch for her. And I was like, well, compared to, you have to look at what I'm coming from. I think that's how we all have to look at our projects in general. Compared to what I typically stitch on, this is a very simple, quick stitch, because compared to Henry, this is nice and relaxing. I don't really have to think too hard. I do have to follow the pattern just due to the nature of the confetti in, say, that mushroom cap, but there's only 3 colors in that cap. There's 50 colors in that shirt. There's a huge difference between 3 and 50. Just saying. So, really enjoying that. And I think I'm going to continue working on this for a while because, again, this is a nice quick stitch. And so I'm thinking what I'm going to do is continue working on into this corner and get this corner motif done so I can start down the side. So I have not decided yet, but I'm thinking what I'm going to do is stitch the entire border first, and then I'll come into the center and do the center. I really don't know yet. It's hard because the pages of the pattern are so... I'm making a working copy anyways, but the pages of the pattern are huge. So, I don't know. We'll see. Oh, I'm losing my needles. So that is the status of all of my stitching so far this week. Okay, I have no cross-stitching related purchases. However, while I was at Barnes & Noble this week, I did go ahead and purchase something that I was kind of enabled to by Minty Stitcher. A long time ago, she had told me about these scratch-off nightscapes. And we all know my love of skylines and cities. So, and she thought this would be such a neat thing for me because of my love of architecture and skylines. So what I did was I went ahead and purchased one of these, and I got started on the first one. And there is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And let me tell you, this is a lot harder than it looks. So what it is there is the gray, and what you're given is a stylus that you use to scratch off the gray. Now, because this stylus is not very pointy, and this is quite detailed, it is hard to really get the quality of detail that you really, really want, that I really, really want for the design. But I thought it was a really neat looking practice. This is really nice to just practice with. If I really like it and I'm going to continue with it, there are a lot of larger pieces that you can purchase on Amazon, and from there you can get they send you a much better stylus scratcher. But so they have in this book they have Chrysler Building. Whoops. Chrysler Building. London Bridge. Tower Bridge. Eiffel Tower. Taj Mahal. Big Ben. I stand corrected. The Elizabeth Tower, commonly known as Big Ben. Red Square. I think that's St. Peter's Basilica in Moscow. I believe this is Mount Fuji. London Eye, I think. There's a list up front. I just didn't look at it too closely. Sydney Harbor. Eiffel Tower again. Fireworks. And CN Tower, Toronto. So pretty cool. Something I'll continue working on here and there. But kind of, you know, something different. Because, you know, I need another hobby. Oh, St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow. So, again, landmarks, scratch off nightscapes. The brand that makes this is Lago, and they are a South Korean company. So, yeah, pretty cool. Anyways, so that is all my purchases for the week, and finally, my plans. I don't know how much stitching I'm going to have this week. I do have some designing I have to get done this week. So I'm going to be designing. I'm going to continue on the mushroom sampler. I probably will get back to Henry. I'm feeling like I just want to continue working on Henry and maybe a new start. But it would be a small start, like a small design. So we'll see. But I have no set plans. I'm just going to go with it and see how I feel, and we'll go from there. But until then, follow me on Instagram, ginger.gerald.stitcher for regular updates that typically are more frequently than my videos. I want to thank you all if you are new to my channel for stitching updates. And I look forward to seeing you on my next video. And until then, enjoy your stitching and don't forget to always be creative. I'll see you next time.